broadly. We didn't mean to scare you with the red. Numbers, I think somebody forgot to.
To change it.
Change it to black, so that's.
Oh.
You're so mad.
I was worried about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
It did
update
jump
it and
out.
repause.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
that's fine.
I think this was,
Okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of the broad picture where we have
Ignore the red.
balance.
Okay.
Okay.
I can get my team to resend it. Copy.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I can repost it. Yeah.
Next slide. Quick updates, multi-purpose room. Like I mentioned earlier, we should be wrapping it up somewhere this year. Melissa, did you want to give a quick update? I believe we probably went through the scope at the January 29 meeting, how we are reconfiguring the scope. But that's kind of the broad picture. Did you want to mention something?
Yeah, I can just go through. So we've deferred, as I think everyone knows, some of the work for that multi-purpose building, specifically moving portable buildings around and doing a parking lot up at the top of the hill. And then now we're adjusting that scope just the slightest bit, that we're not going to be moving portables. And then there's a separate project funded separately that is putting two before and after school care buildings up at the upper side. And that allow for additional TK, I believe what it is. So that's what's going on this summer.
So we are working out the cost aspect with the contractor right now. So there will be some savings from the original contract scope or contract sum, which we can use towards the deferred work. So those numbers should come in hopefully within the next few weeks, and we can wrap it up.
I think,
I think we went through the broad update of this. Student services building progressing well. The remaining scope of work is generally got to do with the interior finishes, final commissioning of the project, and some of the exterior hardscape and landscape. We should be wrapping it up by end of next month. And I believe we have the 20th of next month, approximately the date for moving in furniture, fixture equipment. So that's progressing well. Next slide.
is that the color?
Yeah, I was worrying about that yellow too.
No, it isn't painted yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's just how siding comes. It's like,
I assumed so. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so the finishes interior, exterior.
Okay, okay.
All right. Student services building,
Oh,
I
that's
think we looked at the wrap.
Oh, and we're good with it. Yeah.
HVAC projects, again, at Del Rey Gloria, two contracts with two elements. Again, I think we touched on some of the challenges we have, including the cables being chewed out. One of the other challenges which might extend across the 5 campuses are each of these units that are sitting next to a louvered opening. The back panel of those units may need to be adjusted to make sure that we have a sealed joint between the unit and the wall. So right now, Wagner Ranch is performing as it was designed. All the other sites need to get to that same status. So they are all functioning. It's kind of the broad picture without going into the gory details. It's kind of broad picture.
Is one of the concerns that at those other sites, it's not working correctly because there is a gap and it's not sealing correctly?
Correct.
Okay, so in some of those sites where the windows will be replaced, wouldn't that affect that as well? No?
I don't think that will have an impact.
Solve it, you'll still need
That
to,
will have an impact, but what we're looking at Wagner Ranch, that took
It's
quite a
working.
bit to get there. We're looking at damper positions, how they're functioning, getting up to temperature in the winter days. It's performing pretty well. So we're really working very hard to identify what's different there than here, which is what we've done. That's what Saj's touched on. We're looking for consistency throughout the district. If they're the same units at every school, they should be performing similarly, and they're not. But we think we feel pretty confident we've identified the biggest issue, and that's what we're working toward.
so since windows will come out and go back in, would you wait?
Work even more
Okay.
efficiently.
Would you seal it prior to that or after?
They're not up on the window. It's on a.
Okay, I just figured, getting
Yeah,
in
they're
that
all
little
under
space there would be
windows, so-
difficult.
Wouldn't affect.
We also want the contractor that is.
Did the work to
doing
begin with,
complete
totally.
it,
Yeah.
Complete their contract.
That's right. The broad intent is to wrap up this piece of the scope before we get into the windows and insulation scope of work.
And the fact that there is a gap there, but why that happened? Is that an oversight? Was that should have been put up against a window in the first place? Like what, I'd end up in this position?
That's what we're working to identify how we got there. It's a good question, and that's what we're working to.
Yeah, I mean, they're all brand new units, so I think, my concern would be would there be problems down the road? You find one thing and then leads to the next problem. It sounds like a gap would maybe be a big problem, and so it's great to fix it.
The biggest issue, Katie, is when it's drawing the outside air. So when we talk about a gap, you want to make sure that when you're bringing outside air in, you're only bringing the outside air, you're not sucking it from the inside.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, in effect, we don't want the units to be leaking air one way or the other. That's kind of the intent. But to touch on what you asked, there were a couple of different components of the contract or contractor involved. These units were procured through Norman S. Wright. The district procured the equipment, handed it off to the contractor. Somebody at some point in time did not ask the right question to the right people.
About how to install it.
So anyway, we are working with the contractors involved. Hopefully we can resolve that.
Okay.
Next slide.
Oh, sure. Oh, modernization.
I think this, again, we touched on these numbers broadly. We are still tracking within the project budget. We might get close on the mechanical project. We might get close to expending the allowance that's built within the contract. This should be the last slide. Again, moving forward, so the year-to-date expended is mostly, I believe, soft cost, and last summer we did perform some part of the scope, which was correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, we did do the
PA systems and network.
PA systems across 4 campuses.
Yes, we did PAs at Delray, OIS,
And Magna Ranch.
and then we did full network upgrade at Sleepy Hollow, and the others, we've kind of upgraded them to accommodate the PA system, but they still need to be finished.
So that's most of the expended to date numbers, so I think that should be the last one, Kate.
Yes, it is.
If there are any questions, I can try and answer. If not, I will find the answers and report back to you.
Just thank you.
All right.
No questions, yeah.
Thank you both for coming and sitting in.
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that item is just a discussion item. I think the next item is an action item for change order for ISI inspection services.
As we have been talking about, the project has lasted longer than we had anticipated, and then we're looking at the deferred work going into next summer. So ISI does a lot of the special inspections that we need as far as the concrete, things like that. So we've asked them, what do you think it's going to take to get to the end of this project? And that's what this change order is for. They've given their estimate. So we recommend this approving this request for the change order to get the project completed.
Is there any chance we could have any help from Sausal on this?
We're going to look and see what portion of that is incomplete work. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Doesn't seem like we have a choice, so.
Given the contractor, we need the inspections.
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah, that was my thought looking at this. There's not really an option, but I would like to continue understanding who's on the hook for these bills that could keep coming every single time.
And we're putting together all those bills as possible liquidated damages.
Yeah, we're looking.
to Go after them. Great. That's
Great.
wonderful.
All right, so would someone like to make a motion that we approve the proposal from ISI Inspection Services?
This is Hillary. I move that we approve the proposal from ISI Inspection Services.
This is Etta, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that motion carries. So we're on to this invoice from Decotech Services for speaker cages at the new Sleepy Hollow NPR building.
Yes, so as you will recall, Decotech installed the audio video system at the new Sleepy Hollow NPR. And it's working great. After using it for a bit, it was identified that protecting the speakers with a cage would be think of. So this is an invoice for what the proper term is speaker guard. So it's an invoice for a couple of them.
Anyone have any questions about the speaker guards?
That's deep.
A fairly small amount.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
seems like it
seems
will-
necessary because to replace is more, so.
It lasts longer.
Yes.
All right, would someone like to make a motion that we approve the invoice from Decotech Systems for speaker cages at the new Sleepy Hollow NPR building?
So moved. Zeep.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that motion carries. We're on to the proposal from Bay Alarm to integrate and program the devices at the new NPR.
So obviously the new NPR has a number of different fire alarm systems in there, a lot of devices that have to communicate with the existing system. So what this is Bay Alarm having to come in and integrate and do the reprogramming so all these devices could communicate and they would know what they're looking at when there's an issue.
I have a question on this one, just because, we've had other discussions about cameras and getting an integrated system across the different campuses around cameras. And so do any of the companies that we're looking at around cameras maybe also, would they also be, was there a way to hook them up into the fire systems too? Like,
Well, this is fire, not intrusion. So
I would think having kind of one system that tracked all of these different things and provided alerts so that you could.
Like we do in
it would have
residence.
to,
Like you can find in residential, you can combine it all.
By Nest or whatever, yeah.
yeah. Most of these systems are proprietary. That's why Bay Alarm has to come in and do it. So it'd be an all or nothing thing.
So no, I guess I'm just wondering if any of the vendors that we've been looking at for alarms also do, for intrusion, also do fire. Maybe that's the better question to ask.
I don't know of any that do. I'm not saying they don't. I don't
Okay,
know.
that's
any,
fair.
not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't. Very much like a security camera and then this deals with fire and
They're two different
fire
systems,
departments. I don't know. I just don't know.
Combine them for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Simplicity of
Yeah.
management, but that might not be true at a.
Yeah,
at
it sounds like this
scale.
is equipment we already have, right?
It is. We're just adding it.
It
Tying
needs
it
to be worked correctly, but I agree with Eve. A lot of times, at least in residencies, all these things are sort of bundled and packaged. And in dealing with different vendors, if that's a possibility, we've been talking about cameras or lights around campus or whatever, usually you get a better deal when you combine it. I agree with you.
Right, but that would be entirely changing the system versus.
I think we have it, so do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
if there are things that can be tied together, because we've discussed multiple things even tonight that would be on
Yeah.
a wish list for safety,
Yes,
then maybe that makes
yeah,
sense.
agreed.
Are we going after the contractor who installed the incorrect?
It's not incorrect. It would have had to be,
Oh.
this should have been done in the summer
Yeah.
and it wasn't.
Right.
So
It was overlooked.
It's not really, it was just incorrect. They should have made the phone call in the summer to do this. And where it came up is when we had our annual fire inspection. It's like, these devices aren't really talking. So it's, it was the manager that we had managing these projects, I think, that
Right.
might have dropped the ball.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion that the board approve the Bay Alarm proposal?
Hillary, I move that we approve the Bay Alarm proposal.
Second,
Katie, I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, the motion carries. The next, we're on the change order for Nino and Moore.
This is Ninian and Moore does, again, special inspections, a lot of the soils engineering. There were unexpected conditions that they found when they were excavating and trying to get the soil compacted. There were engineers that worked together. There was a lot of base that had to go on. So it's more inspections that had to go on. We've had a wet winter. So there have been more inspections to come in and do this with the concrete and all that. So because of these unexpected conditions and the weather, there have been more inspections required. So that's what this change is for. It's a relatively small change order from the size of their contract.
Any other questions? Someone like to make a motion that we approve the change order from Nino and Moore, Student Services Building Project at Orinda.
Hillary, so moved.
Katie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Now on to communications. It's CSEA or I don't see CSEA, so would OEA like to?
Do you mind if I start out with the water?
No, of course not.
Water bottle. Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm Charles Shannon, President of the Orinda Educators Association. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Your word. So many of our teachers showed up this evening to let you, the school board, know that inflation is really putting pressure on already strapped educators, financially strapped educators. The cost of living adjustment, called COLA, is passed on to districts as a means of keeping salaries comparable and maintaining the ability for teachers to keep up with the rising cost of living, accounting for basics like housing, food, clothing, utilities, taxes, and healthcare. It's essential for districts to distribute the COLA percentage to its employees as an adjustment to current salaries to offset inflation. It's not a raise, but it's necessary if the district wants to retain and attract the best educators. OEA members understand the district does not have unlimited funds. This year, however, inflation is over 8%. But if teacher salaries continue to shrink against inflation, we are effectively being asked to take yearly pay cuts and to subsidize other district priorities. For more and more teachers, it's a real challenge financially to teach in Orinda. You're hearing personal, sometimes emotional testimonies that illustrate the financial hardships facing teachers right now. Housing challenges top the list, with so many struggling to pay the high rents in the East Bay. You're also aware that most teachers have to work more than one job. During tonight's meeting, we heard about expanding various programs, or the potential to expand various programs, and adding infrastructure. How can we even talk about this when we heard tonight 8th grade students were without a core teacher for a full semester, and our math department has been a revolving door? The spending You okay?
Yeah.
The spending priority must be on teacher salaries and benefits in order to protect our students. Our excellence in Orinda is absolutely dependent on OUSD being able to retain and attract the best educators for our students. Our highly qualified teachers provide mentorship and guidance, helping students navigate their educational journey and make informed choices. Their wisdom and experience serve as a compass for students' personal and academic development. Our Orinda teachers don't just focus on the present, they prepare students for the future. Paying our teachers a competitive salary is how we retain and attract them. We are an important and valued part of the Orinda community. We love our students and made our schools top performing year after year. This is a common reason why many of our parents moved here. By investing in teachers, you're investing in keeping Orinda strong. Beyond any other spending priority, OUSD's excellence is absolutely dependent on our being able to retain and attract the best educators. Thank you again and again. I want to say I appreciate this is difficult, We have faith that we're gonna figure this out. But we know we're gonna have to continue to work together because the stories that we're hearing from teachers are real. Just the other day, a teacher came up to me and said, I hate to say this to you, but I'm gonna resign at the end of the year. I can't afford to stay here any longer. And it's sad. She's very talented, has been an integral part of our community this year. And we're hearing more and more stories like that. And I keep thinking, what's gonna happen? We have so many veteran teachers looking to retire. How are we gonna fill those positions if it's just so hard to make a living and pay the, like I was saying, the rents? If you just look, it's incredible how much people are asking just to rent a room or a studio. It's something we all have to seriously look at and try to find a solution. Because I'm talking about real things that exist for people. I hear these stories all the time. It breaks my heart because I love teaching and I've loved the time that I've been in Orinda. I just don't know how young people are going to be able to make it. It's something we're all going to have to tackle. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any cabinet updates?
No cabinet updates tonight.
Great. Any board reports?
I don't have much to say. I was actually traveling. We've only had a couple weeks between our meetings. We had the special board meeting. Did have a meeting with the Friends of the Nature area. So just wanted to mention that. It was a really great meeting, actually very collaborative, and also had a call with our assemblywoman just to talk about the state of the funding or the grant there and working towards, trying to secure that. So that was something. And then this week I'm going to the mayor's liaison meeting tomorrow and the One Orinda board meeting. And I know there's other things coming up as well, but that's it.
Great, thank you. Katie?
I don't have too much either because we back to the meetings. I got sidelined in January due to the flu, so I missed my visit to Glorietta and other things that week. That's too bad. So looking forward to going on my next visit whenever that comes up. We had a really good wellness steering committee in between meetings here, and looking forward to the coordinating council meeting that I'll be going to in February.
Also waylaid by the flu in January, but in addition to the Friends of the Nature area, we also had our bond executive committee meeting where we discussed some of the things we just talked about in somewhat more detail, but we had a nice summary of that today, so that was good. And I guess this is prior to the last special meeting, but after last one, there was a BAS steering committee meeting as well at Sleepy Hollow, where we got to talk to a number of the parents and staff involved there about kind of ongoing topics and questions and issues, which we will, I'm sure, be bringing back here in due time.
And I had a Sleepy Hollow site visit and an equity steering committee meeting. So
Great.
Yeah.
And a lot of steering committees. I had the safety steering committee and the bond executive team. We had our 2x2 meeting. We were sorry you couldn't join us.
You didn't want me there.
We continue talking about this nexus of the city safety plans and the school district safety plans. And I did learn something interesting, and that is that sometimes the city has 2x2s with the Moraga-Orinda Fire District. So I called one of the fire board members, Craig Jorgens, and had lunch with him. And we think it would be great to have a 3x1 meeting where we have someone from the city, someone from the school district, someone from the fire district, and the chiefs of the various districts in AIDA get together and actually try to talk all together
Like that.
about this issue all at once.
Joint meeting.
A joint meeting. So I'm
Putting all the numbers in, it gets a little confusing.
Exactly. So I'm working on getting that set up, hopefully, for our next board meeting. And hopefully that maybe will help us move forward. Also, tomorrow meeting about home to school transportation.
Yes.
There's this funding available that the Orinda School Bus Transportation Authority would like to be able to access because it would allow us to at least keep up with the rising costs. So we have a 5-year contract with First Student who provides the buses for Orinda, but that contract is coming to an end. And the initial reports of what we could expect when we go out for RFP is a significant increase. You might remember 5 years ago, there was a significant increase and it caused a lot of concern. We don't want to reduce routes. So we're looking at different ways to get more funding. And this could be one way, but there's a lot of concern about having to run money through the school districts to get that funding, because right now, everything is separate through the Joint Power Authority and really separate from the school districts. And it's nice that way. It's very clean. So there's a meeting tomorrow with Moraga and Lafayette talking about concerns about the proposed MOU and what's entailed and what it might look like. The flip side of it is it's really important that we keep the buses running. We saw what happened after COVID when we didn't have the buses and the traffic
Oh, yeah.
was terrible. And, they do serve a real purpose of traffic mitigation in Orinda.
And it's already the traffic's gotten worse with the Tuesday, Thursday, same time for the
Right,
high school and OIS getting out.
right. So it's something that I think we need to, not lose sight of the reason why we're involved in this Joint Power Authority and why we have the buses. And I would hate to see the program fall apart because the costs rise too much and people won't pay the cost or we lose routes. Orinda benefits the most from the program. We have the most buses, we have the most routes. So it's really in our interest to participate. And so, if we can come up with an arrangement that might work, it's worth pursuing. On the other hand, we don't want to add a lot of work to Nika's office, to any other of our administrative offices. We're not trying to increase the burden on the district. So let you know when we have more understanding of what this proposal is and what it would require of the school district to move forwards.
Thank you.
Great. If there are no more reports, I guess we move on to the consent calendar. Items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and are acted on by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There's no discussion of these items before the board vote unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar. It's understood that the administration recommends approval on all consent items. Each item on the consent calendar approved by the board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. Anyone have any items they would like to remove from the consent calendar tonight?
This is actually just a question of process.
Sure.
Since I did not attend, I don't think, the January 22 meeting because I was ill. In other contexts, I generally recuse myself from approving minutes of meetings I was not at, so I might need to have that one.
You can abstain.
Abstain from that one, okay.
Does she abstain
Recuse herself
Recuse?
from item B.
from item B?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other than that,
All right, I move that we approve the consent calendar.
great.
This is Katie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I with an abstention from item B.
Recusal.
This is
Recusal from item B.
One of these days I'll get it right.
That's okay.
And no one is opposed, so the item passes. So future agenda items, we have the
Yeah.
second.
Second
interim.
interim's the big one on March 11th, and
Mhm.
we were hoping to do a special education report. It's still a little in the air. We'll make sure that we have enrollment update and nature area update
Great.
in March 11th, April, as I mentioned a couple of times, Healthy Kids Survey Wellness, and we will also be kicking off our celebrations.
Yay. Teacher of the year.
Yes, so employees, classified and certificated employees of the year.
We also schedule the groundbreaking or ribbon cutting, whatever, not
March
groundbreaking.
13th.
Is that confirmed?
Confirmed that.
Okay.
Started.
I think so. Okay.
Exciting, right?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
With all of that, is there a motion to adjourn?
This is Hillary. I move that we adjourn.
That I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.